Good morning, dear friends. Hello, dear participants. Welcome to Startup Village 2021, the largest international event in Russia and in Eastern Europe for startups in technological innovations. And this is our 9th edition. Our event is attended by over 10,000 participants, over 5,000 startups and multiple investors from all over the world. They come here to Skolkovo. Last year, Startup Village was done in online format, and our participants were able to participate from any point, from any place in the world. This year we have a hybrid format. That means it's both online and offline. So, dear friends, let's move to the program of this event. Even though it's very busy, we have 100 interactive sessions on tech trends, on new markets, transformation of business models, and integration of breakthrough technologies into business practices. We have two offline scenes. We have Sun Hall and we have Earth Hall. Earth Hall is where we are right now, and I think it's quite interesting that we are on Earth. We are on Earth and we're in Earth. So in a virtual scene, you can watch, you can also follow lounges, Venus, you have expo of tech projects where there are startups, technoparks, and regional Skolkovo operators. And thirdly, we have networking. You will be able to meet any participant with any investor of interest to you. We have several platforms for that. Fourthly, we have mentor hours, where tech entrepreneurs may present their projects, startups, to professional mentors and get feedback to learn how to improve their startups, how to increase profits, and how to fine-tune technological process and startup pitches before investors at Mars. So visit that area to see how tech entrepreneurs motivate investors to invest into their projects. And I would like to announce the starting event of the Industry Accelerator of Roscosmos and the Skolkovo Foundation, aimed at finding promising projects in digital technologies for digital Roscosmos program, about Roscosmos policies in digital innovations, the announce of Digital Accelerator. So let's So we have Konstantin Shadrin, State Space Corporation, Roscosmos Director of the Department of Digital Development. He'll be telling us about their accelerator and about digital transformation in Roscosmos. Over to you, Konstantin. Thank you very much. Good morning, colleagues. I do hope that this not fully filled audience is compensated by a large interest by online participants, because today we'll be talking about a very serious event for for Roscosmos, the launch of Industry Accelerator for digital technologies, which is an evolutionary step of digital development at Roscosmos that was launched back in 2015. The idea is to make space more open and more accessible, and to intensify the processes that had been launched and we're running currently. We will discuss such topics as why we need an industry accelerator, what objectives it will help to achieve, with whom and how, in which ways we'll be interacting, what teams we will be ready to support, and how. Globally speaking, all the activities we're interested in are aimed at achieving the objectives of Roscosmos, the expansion of humanity into space, and leading positions of the Russian Federation in the space on the space arena, and client-oriented space products and services, and national security is also one of them. Space industry is one of the most science-intensive industries. It covers pretty much all the advanced areas of science and technologies. In 2019, we approved single industry policy of Roscosmos. It was achieved with some difficulty. It was a very significant document for the industry. So a lot of rethinking had been done about where we were, about our starting positions, about our objectives going forward. And on the slide you can see 5 key areas that we picked for ourselves: digitalization, in-house, our own management systems, production facilities, digital twins, transition to data management and decision-making based on verified data and updated data. And digitalization is not a goal, it's a means to create new digital products and services. And that would be impossible unless you change the corporate environment and culture. Systemic changes require the involvement of all the people working in the industry, which is one of the priorities for us. Here on the slide you can see the stages where we are right now. And it should be noted that such an intensive start, the first stage in 2021, required that we do some global activities to assess our digital maturity. That will be completed this year. So we did spend a lot of time and resources, put together best practices, and now we work on assessing digital maturity of our companies. And we also prioritize projects, those that will be helpful for our companies, and we should be able to see changes for the better in terms of their economic performance. Second stage, we'll continue to work on re-engineering our business processes. That work started a year before the last one. We started to build business processes. We work in a process-oriented way. We also launched some pilots to create digital twins. We started by rethinking this area. There are different approaches to that. Then we also implemented corporate data management system for priority areas. And also this year we are starting, and we're doing this in advance, we're starting our acceleration processes. We signed an agreement, Rogozin signed it, and Mr. Dvorkovich, he's a Skolkovo vis-a-vis, they signed an agreement on working in this area, an MOU. So we put a lot of thought into that, because to assess ourselves and assess our own needs in-house is not the right kind of thing. So we found a partner, the Skolkovo Foundation, so to find the right teams that would be the right fit for us, and so impact from their implementation would be at the maximum scope. So, speaking of this industry accelerator, it's pretty clear what it's all about, and I will talk more about it. There are some common practices, and people already pretty much used to them, but we see some key areas here where we need acceleration in projects which are related to the five areas of our digital strategy. Of key importance is looking for product areas, how we can have an independent look of young, unexperienced people who can see with their fresh eyes. And we know that cosmetics has been developed since the days of Yuri Gagarin. So it is very important to take a fresh look at this and find new approaches, new perspectives. When we can find some microservices to move from classical ERP systems to more mobile systems, more goal-oriented systems, to improve our management system and reduce transactional costs, both inside the corporation and also in part of intercompany transactions, and to launch a system of business analytics that should enable top managers in the corporation to manage visible and understandable tools to make adequate and weighted decisions. Speaking of digitalization of manufacturing, it is very important for us, besides improving the level of digitalization and introduction of IT technologies at our plants, classical plants, conventional plants, we need to build digital twins of products. Not because it's a hype technology, but to have a well-thought-through solution. And if there are some solutions out there, ready-made solutions, we need to adapt them. And we need to design following existing requirements, products which are at least as good as current ones. So digitalization goes hand in hand with conventional processes, production processes of rockets, and we see synergy there. Also, when we talk about digitalization of manufacturing and creation of digital twins of our plants, of our workshops, and transitioning to serial production and smart factories, everybody sees that, and there is a trend to create groupings, to have higher density of data, to make sure all of our clients receive that amount of data for their services that they need to deal with their objectives. And data should be verified, should be reliable. Data management system is one of our priorities. So we have a corporate database, and we prioritize those projects that State Corporation launches inside and also as part of the federal space program. And we need to transition towards data sets and start using such things as metadata for different areas, because one way or the other, data are needed for finances, for economics, but also for production people. So we should follow a verified or reliable model of data management. And we see some impacts already at the State Corporation. So there's a lot of demand, in-house demand for that. Digital corporate culture for Roscosmos is not a slogan, it's a trend, and it's a vector of our development. And we are creating an ecosystem in our corporation. It's a trajectory of development for young people and experts. Also, it's about the shaping the image of our young expert and switching to new info communication models, both inside the corporation and beyond, when we employee interactions, also working with our partners. And on Thursday, on our industry conference will be talking about that. Because unless we change corporate culture, unless we change attitude towards work as a key element of corporations' valuation, it's impossible to launch the process of digital transformation in the full scope, because people are not motivated by money only, but brand is the motivation, among other things, how their contribution is evaluated to the work of state corporation and the industry. So that is very important. We should learn to appreciate people. We should learn to listen to them and find internal initiatives and support those guys who are mature experts, specialists, for us to be able to achieve new results. And digital solution and digital platforms play a key role in that. Digital products and services are a new area of activities that we have announced in Roscosmos. It fully helps to evaluate impacts from space activity, because many people do not understand why we put satellites into orbit, why we launch new rockets, why 150,000 people work there. But all of you have smartphones, and you can navigate in the space, you have geo-navigation in them, one way or the other. Digital inequality in the Russian Federation, that problem cannot be resolved without space activities. And the accident that took place in Suez Channel also highlighted the importance of North Sea route and its development. And it's impossible to do that without satellite technologies. So we talk about Earth imaging, about radars. And yesterday we discussed this with colleagues. We started to look differently, as well as our partners from other industries, at the results of space activities when we create client-oriented services based on Earth imaging. So space helps us to see the scope of our forests, to track results of catastrophes, even to track macroeconomic performance, and to see how we are doing in comparison with our competitors. So this is a joint work inside our corporation, and we're ready to become more open and involve young talent to use AI and to work with big data and create new and interesting and service which will be demanded by the state, by large businesses, even by regular citizens. And we can say that clouds, our Terra Cloud, already exists, and any person can find images of interest.
If we will take a look at a different situation, the situation in Kamchatka spring last year, basically, only thanks to the cosmic activities have helped us to understand what was the reasons for what has happened. But there were various speculations there. We were talking about oil spills and many other things. And anyhow, space helps us to view various tasks in a different way. By combining the classic technologies of remote probing of Earth technologies and the virtual augmented reality, we managed to start a new field of development. In this case, we are talking about tourism. Last year, when we were restricted in movement due to the pandemic, we managed to use the stereo data uploaded to our drive with the augmented reality helmet, and we managed to travel both across our country and across the world. But let's take a look at what our residents are going to receive, what the residents of the accelerator are going to receive. We're talking about tests, platforms. Various solutions need to be tested using the live data, and we are ready to work closely with startups both on the level of mentors and the level of production data. Because when we're forming the representative selection of data, we have to understand that this is very difficult to analyze them when we don't have the live data. And the piloting of the projects with our organizations, we're really open, especially within the programs of the digital transformation of corporations and organizations. Of course, we would prefer our local and national startups, which are going to help us to achieve the digital maturity of their organizations. We are ready and willing to provide consulting services on intellectual property, because we know that startups are young and very active, but due to various reasons, they do not know how to live within the environment of the aggressive economic conditions, how to protect their rights, how big corporations can be fought back and not to give up the results of their work. And of course, after a successful piloting, we're ready to guarantee that we're going to promote the solutions within our organization and inside our corporation, because we want to scale up and roll out our startups and good solutions, because we already have examples of industry character. What is different compared to the classic accelerators and solutions, if we're talking about our solution? First stage, scouting technologies. We choose most successful technologies. Then, within the accelerator, we are expertising and analyzing the applications. But this is not over. We need to go through all the 4 stages. We want to go through the whole life cycle of improving our technologies. During the 3rd stage, we're talking about industrializator. This is piloting of successful solutions implemented in our organizations and corporations, and the effect is quite obvious because we created the expert council on industry transformation. My colleagues from biggest companies, corporations and organizations are going to be involved here, and they will choose the most interesting and most successful and rapid solutions. We all understand that the systems of management are really important for all the companies in order to achieve the set KPIs, especially when we're talking about transformation of organizations. And in the future, we're planning to have the industrial implementation. Also, we're talking about separate business deals of merging companies together and consumption of various companies by the bigger ones. We will provide access to smart money, to mentorship programs, and many other things, and we are very open to solve various tasks. Moreover, we are willing to develop new technologies. Pilotless technologies. Roscosmos believes that aeromobility and remotely controlled technologies have to go hand in hand with development of these space technologies. And we also understand that mobile phones are either connected to highways or cities, but if we're talking about our huge country, 80% of our territory does not have cell phone connection. And without any satellite connection, it is impossible to think about it, and we need to dispatch the pilotless systems, and there is a lot of things and fields to work on. And I would like to think together with our colleagues from Skolkovo, because we are living in 2021, and only 9 years are left before we are supposed to transfer to networks of the 6th generation. And who knows, maybe we'll find something there as well, because cell phone network development, the 6G, I'm talking about 6G here, So it's going to be impossible if we do not expand vertically without satellite technologies, with absolutely new approaches from the point of view of infrastructure. That is why this field is going to be very interesting to us, and we are open to any cooperation and work in this field because the leading countries are still searching for the technologies. They are still working on the level of R&D, and they still have to understand what technology is and what the stack of technology is. And in this case, we would like to be among the top and among the leaders in this field, and we have all the opportunities to do that. Thank you very much for your detailed presentation. I would like to give floor to Alexey Belyakov, and he is going to tell us how these technologies might be supported by Skolkovo Foundation. Thank you, Konstantin. Dear colleagues, thank you for coming and willing to listen about our project. Well, Konstantin, I think that most important thing which you mentioned is that the accelerator has to change the culture of the state corporation. Of course, technologies, those can be found. We will commercialize them, we will raise the entrepreneurs and so on. But we also need to have possibility to react and to answer, because some companies are customers of the technology, some companies are simply partners with this, and some of them are open to these technologies. And I do agree that changing the culture of the state corporation to make it more open and to the external technologies is one of the goals which we are following. Yeah, where do I point this thing? Can you please switch on the presentation? Yes. Yes, speaking about the technological fields, Konstantin has described them very thoroughly. But I would like to draw your attention to the following thing. We are going to be working with the digital technologies. First of all, what technological stacks are we talking about? We're talking about new products using the data of remote probing of Earth, and we have lots of technologies like that. We have successful examples in Skolkovo, the companies which are developing such products. And even yesterday, we, together with Roscosmos, have been holding a session, and we're listening to the GeoAlert company, who are digitizing the buildings and infrastructure. They are creating very detailed 2D and 3D maps by digitizing big territories and maps, which can be used to make managerial decisions. So, you know, we could be used in Rosregister and other fields. And another resident of Skolkovo is using data of Earth probing to optimize the locations for retailers, including the X5, Magnets, and many other companies. So, and they are studying the locations of the stores, and they are helping to locate their stores in the proper position. These ideas are developing both on our ground and in other countries in the United States. For example, the point agricultural systems. Some are building the business analytics systems, for example, to analyze the amount of cars in the parking lots. By that, you can analyze the business activities, and you can make decisions on the investments in the stock markets. And another very interesting idea, which is being commercialized, is the amount of tankers in the ports, monitoring of the ice shelves, and so on and so forth. The ideas are multiple. And this is one more reason to implement this project together, because Roscosmos is a great source of data, and they are always looking for new ideas and the ways to implement them. We are counting on some synergy between the state corporation and our residents. Another market, which is very interesting to all of us, is the drone market. unmanned technologies markets. And of course, Roscosmos is the owner of many technologies in this field, and so you cannot develop it without it. That is why this market is very interesting, and I can say that opportunities are limitless. The ideas can be potentially commercialized and worked through. So why Skolkovo? Skolkovo is a platform nowadays which helps to cooperate, to establish cooperation between State Corporation and the residents. We are launching this accelerator regularly together with Roscosmos and the State Corporation. And this is our first experience, and we are glad that Roscosmos is following the Airbus experience, Boeing experience, the companies which have already launched these programs a bit earlier, and we really hope that within our program we will manage to choose some ideas for Roscosmos, and as Konstantin said, we should find the ways to finance them and to launch their market activity in some commercial field. So you can see that startups are becoming more and more expensive and more interesting, so the revenue is growing, and the revenue has been more than 2 billion euro last year, and thanks to the ecosystems work, we managed to do that because we are connecting our participants and the potential customers. Why also we need this accelerator? We are involving the investors in the space activity. Everybody understands that space is a complicated thing, and we know that there are lots of businesses, applications, and solutions there. But also in Skolkovo, we can see the interest from the investor side. The people are coming and asking, okay, what you've got in the space field? And of course, we're not building the rocket ship carriers, but if we're talking about the services, we can develop those here and now. Another goal of this accelerator is to attract investors, to package the projects, to have a special partnership with Roscosmos, to have this partnership, to be most warm and friendly, to launch the business projects with the private investments who are interested in this field, but although they do not know where to come from, how to start working with it. Of course, Skolkovo is the biggest innovation hub in Russia, if we're talking about work with the startup. On a yearly basis, on a daily basis, we receive a great amount of applications in various fields. We are developing the space field separately, and it feels like several dozens of space startups already exist in our ecosystem. You have been on the pitch session, which have shown some of them. Some ideas are really great. I really enjoyed them. However, quite obvious that the amount of the startups is not enough to call it an ecosystem. That is why we're talking about involvement of new residents into our system, into our ecosystem. Of course, we are hoping that this accelerator is not going to be a simple place to discuss ideas and forget about them. We really hope that the companies which come to the accelerators are going to be accelerated and who are going to grow after that. And we all know that the revenue of our residents is growing 35% per year, and we hope that within the framework of this project we will manage to achieve the same KPIs. What are the companies going to take out of all of this? We're talking about the development of their business with Roscosmos, hand in hand with Roscosmos. All the participants of accelerators are going to receive our services and all the capabilities which we can provide. They will receive direct access to all the services. I'm talking about micro-grant financing for the project implementation, services on protection of intellectual property, which have been mentioned by Konstantin, a possibility to speak to investors, to show your project to them, create a proper structuring of the project if you have an agreement with the investor, and of course, all the other fields and services developed by Skolkovo here and now. Well, this is a general information on this slide. It shows that we need to develop innovations and so on. But I think that Konstantin was quite thorough on why Roscosmos actually needs it. This is the statistics which you see in the slide. That shows digitalization as it is, because everybody and all the corporations are thinking about digitalization and development of innovations. We're talking about both investments and we're talking about the structurizing of the innovations. About 23% of the corporate partners of Skolkovo have already launched their own programs of working together with innovations. I would like to give floor to Ilya right now, who is going to tell us a bit more about the timeline of our accelerator. And he will tell us about our expectations and requirements to the projects that we would like to see here. Yes, this is not a simple accelerator, not a classic one. We will have scouting, we will have the expert analysis, then industrializator and industrial implementation of the technologies. Of course, the first steps are classicals. Right now, we are launching the official start and launch of this accelerator, starting from today. You can visit our platform and apply for this program, sk.ru. You can find our platform there, and your application will come to us. We will review it, and together with the experts of the State Corporation, we will evaluate its quality. The application will last until the end of June, and in July we will analyze all your applications for them to be formally drawn up properly, and of course the experts will evaluate them properly, and the best ones will be chosen to participate in the acceleration program. The program will last for 2 months. There will be a lot of work with the field experts, as Konstantin mentioned. We will involve state corporations, industry organizations, and we will build up a close work with your projects in order to evaluate the characteristics of the pilot. And if the program is successful, we will be implementing your project in an industry. We are planning to finish this program in the November of 2021, and then the accelerator is still going to move on. We will have the stage of implementing. The terms of the implementation might be different. Somebody will be faster, somebody will be slower, but we guarantee that the full cycle is going to be about 12 months, and after that we will see how the projects are implemented in the industry. And we are talking about the projects which would come into our accelerator. Going down to the questions, I can see the questions online, which are addressed to Konstantin. You are launching the accelerator, and will it be something annual, or will you have only one accelerator with a full cycle and then stop? Will you have one window where the company can come and apply, and then will work with a full cycle?
Thank you for that. That was a good question. As I stated in my presentation, we launched transformation of the Roscosmos ecosystem. That's the first, but not the last, project of this kind. We plan to do it regularly, on a regular basis, and we expect to get feedback from our startups and our companies to adapt to the approaches and solutions that we'll be implementing this time around, and it will be done on a regular basis. This activity, it's a long-term one, because this kind of partnership has strategic importance for us. Thank you for that. And also, not really as a follow-up on this, but we received these questions. So you talked about IT, that's the area, but we're not building rockets here, but their projects, they do have rockets, or they're interested in rockets, some hardware solutions. So what are they supposed to do? Do you have any plans at the State Corporation to work with developers or designers? My answer will be twofold. We have opened an innovation section at our website, and also Mr. Rogozin said it in his interview yesterday. So there is a window of opportunity there. But we also started transformation of corporate culture, and for that reason, all those successful practices, digital or IT practices that we will find, they'll be replicated in other areas, including rocket building, satellite building, because there are some similarities, but certification, licensing, and access are issues to be tackled. So let's deal with the first one, with the digital things, and then if things work, those approaches that we develop, we can replicate them and use them in other areas of activities. We have some more questions for Alexey. So questions related to two main areas. What projects can be done? So do you have to be a Skolkovo resident or not? And the second one is, how can companies who are not residents become residents? Do you have any programs for that? What procedures should be followed by those companies to become the status of Skolkovo resident? If they successfully work with the Roscosmos. Of course, we are open to receive applications from both residents and residents of Skolkovo. But what is important here is to find those projects which are beyond the Skolkovo perimeter, but they can participate in our accelerator, and for which Roscosmos may have demand for. But of course, we cannot visit any university and don't leave any without leaving any stone unturned and speaking with any team. I think Skolkovo should do this, so we do expect not only residents, not only residents, not so much residents, but also external companies. And best companies in this accelerator will be provided will have an accelerated procedure to become a Skolkovo resident. It's a fast-track procedure. So you can talk to Skolkovo experts online. They will respond to your questions. You can get a resident status that way. And this service is available to anybody, to all the participants of this accelerator. So it's not an objective to support only our residents. So there's an objective to broaden this area for Roscosmos and to see as many useful solutions as possible. Our time comes to an end. I would like to thank Konstantin, Alexey, for detailed information about their new accelerator. I would like to conclude with these words. So when Yuri Gagarin said, "Let's go for it," here we go. So thank you all.
Жажда веселья. Жажда путешествий. Жажда общения. Утоляй любую жажду с освежающими вкусами Липтон. Мой любимый персик.
При низких температурах окружающей среды тела быстро теряют энергию. Но нахождение вблизи источника тепла позволяет телу получать тепловое излучение. Происходит самопроизвольное перераспределение тепла. Следовательно, когда источники тепла находятся вместе, их энергия побеждает холод. Лучшее создается вместе. Газпромбанк.
МТС Стартап Хаб. Работа с реальным бизнес-заказчиком МТС. Доступ к ресурсам самого крупного телеком-бренда в России. Не можешь поверить? А в твой стартап обязательно поверят. У нас есть все, что тебе понадобится. Ресурсы, клиенты, технологии, каналы продаж. Мы оценим твой продукт, правильно применим в своем бизнесе и масштабируем на мировой рынок. МТС Стартап Хаб ждет тебя и твоих нереальных бизнес-идей.